Burst of Words Poetry Podcast with Shelby Rosengarten. In this edition, Maggie and Millie and Molly and May by E. E. Cummings. Read by Conning Cunningham.
Maggie and Millie and Molly and May by E. E. Cummings. Maggie and Millie and Molly and May went down to the beach to play one day, and Maggie discovered a shell that sang so sweetly she couldn't remember her troubles. And Millie befriended a stranded star whose rays 5 languid fingers were. And Molly was chased by a horrible thing which raced sideways while blowing bubbles. And May came home with a smooth round stone, as small as a world, and as large as a loan. For whatever we lose, like a you or a me, it's always ourselves we find in the sea.
What is it about the sea that brings out the poet in each of us? Is it the prospect to forge connections, a fear of the abyss therein, or the chance to venture outside of and come back to oneself? Cummings is well known for his unconventional use of grammar conventions, and more importantly for his playful style, and this piece is a great example of his wordplay. Here we have alliteration of the names Maggie and Millie and Molly and May, making the first line sing-song in its manner. The 4 girls going down to play have such different encounters, all centered on finding some nautical object. The first 3 girls seem to go outside themselves, go out of their way for an encounter. Maggie escapes when immersed in a shell's song. Maggie discovered a shell that sang so sweetly she couldn't remember her troubles. The string of discover, then sang so sweetly, then couldn't remember evokes a childlike innocent image of her holding a pink conch shell to her ear. Millie finds kinship with a starfish, noting its similarity to her own hand. Here we have another creature that's been washed out of the sea into the presence of a girl on its cusp, and in her eyes those arms transform into fingers. The star is stranded, and the arms are languid fingers. It's a lazier feeling here, a little more brooding. Molly was chased by a horrible thing which raced sideways while blowing bubbles. Really, few things are more frightening than being chased by some unknown shapeless thing that's racing sideways, which is to say irregularly, and blowing bubbles like some vile, otherworldly monster, evoking for us those misshapen shadows of sharks and jellyfish and unknown creatures of the deep. No, for her, it's a terrifying experience, a bad day at the beach, a confrontation, a chase, and probably some screeching. Our glimpses of all 3 of these girls are centered on some form of action. May's smooth round stone seems to be a souvenir of a range of feelings that one might feel when she lets the water wash over her, literally and metaphorically. No discovery, no befriending, no chase. May, instead, brings us home, going full circle, with a treasure she's found. This simple stone, smoothed no doubt by the eroding forces of water and grit, is as small as a world. A strong paradox, as worlds tend to be complex enough not to remain small. Also, though, this implies something self-contained, and that sets us up for the introspection implied in as large as alone. That lonely feeling, after all, can be too much to bear sometimes. After Cummings' 4 simple images of these girls and their beach play, he leads into a profound conclusion, one which seems to reflect the poem's simplicity and profundity. 4 girls have come to the beach together and had 4 varied experiences that reflect a progression of discovery, connection, fear, and introspection. But hidden in some of the most simple words of the poem, you, me, and finally we, Cummings deftly brings them back to their bond with each other. All 4 girls lose themselves in a moment and an object, but they find themselves and a reflection of themselves in the hider of treasures in the sea. This has been the Burst of Words Poetry Podcast with Shelby Rosengarten, St. Petersburg College.